Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick Gevas, and I am Vice President of Green Room. We are a digital marketing agency in downtown Miami, and I want to tell you a little bit about my career story. Like many of you will probably have a very storied path and make some twists and turns. Mine starts in Southwest Virginia. As I was in high school and really trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I wanted to pursue journalism. And so I was part of the yearbook staff. I was also part of the newspaper staff, and I ended up winning a scholarship my senior year, which landed me a job in the hometown news station. So the only trick was they didn't have any place for me in the news department. So they offered me a position, an internship in the promotions department. And understanding how important networking is, I wanted to take it. So that summer proved to be very transformational for me in that I actually saw what was happening in the newsroom every single day. I would go to all the news meetings with the promotion staff, and it was very much like a who, what, when, where, why, covering all the local stories that were happening that day for the 5 o'clock news. And I actually found that to be a little monotonous. It wasn't at all what I expected, which was really surprising to me because I'd had this track for most of my life until that point. But what I realized was being in the promotions department gave me the ability to be a lot more flexible and a lot more creative. It also gave me a much stronger outlet with which to express my creative writing. So I actually ended up being able to produce a few local PSAs. There was a brand new exhibit at the Science Museum that I got the opportunity to produce all by myself. So I chose the music, I wrote the copy, I worked with the graphics department on finding beautiful images of the jellyfish that were floating in the tank, and it proved to be so transformational that I ended up changing my major in college to go much more down a corporate communications and public relations route. So being a very interactive and engaged part of a communications department was something that was really thrilling for me. I really got to use my creativity, especially as a writer, and that was something that I really, really valued. So from there, I was able to get another internship my senior year of college up in the Washington, D.C. area at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Now, I had no arts background, and I ended up getting the position of, I was the press intern for the National Symphony Orchestra. And I have no background in classical music. I don't know hardly anything about it, but it proved to be a tremendous strength for me because I was able to write with fresh eyes. So I had to do a lot of the show notes for every performance. I also had to go to every performance because part of my role as a press intern was escorting press from the Washington Post and other local publications to each of the concerts. So it was really cool because a lot of those tickets go for hundreds of dollars if you weren't a member, and I got to go for free and actually get a little bit of money. There was a little bit of a stipend from there as well. So I also knew that being at a national institution like the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. was really important for a resume. And that proved to be very true. At that time, the economy was kind of tough and it was really hard to get a job. And so I ended up having to cast a much wider net. And so while I thought I would stay in the Washington, D.C. or Maryland area, I ended up actually going to California. I went to a city where I had never been before, and I took the job because the owner of my very first PR agency had actually worked in Washington. And so he saw the Kennedy Center on my resume and figured that if someone was working at the Kennedy Center, they must be smart enough to get an entry-level job right out of school. So it certainly served its purpose, and that was the entire basis of our conversation during my interview. They flew me out, they offered me a job, and I took it pretty much on the spot. So I spent the next several years in California. I was working for the agency, understanding all the elements of public relations and working with clients and writing and pitching products and really engaging heavily with the media. And then an opportunity came up that I knew I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I didn't at least pursue it. And it was an opportunity in the press department at Pixar. You might have heard of it. It's a movie studio. And it's based up in Emeryville, California, which is right across the bay from San Francisco. So most people always think all the movies are made in Los Angeles, but they're actually not. And the Pixar campus is just as magical as you'd imagine. And it was a 3-month interview process for me to go. And I was told that out of more than 800 candidates, there was one spot. And I got it. And I think it's one of those things that it's so important to have perseverance, to not be afraid and chase what you want, because it was a grueling interview process with many different people across the entire movie studio. But it was thrilling, and I got to be there at one of the most exciting times during award season for Toy Story 3. So I was working with people that were going to the Oscars, that were going to the Golden Globes, and all sorts of fun award shows. And it was just an amazing experience and taught me so much. But I got another opportunity to go back into agency life with products. So one thing that I learned is while the studio itself was fun, I learned that entertainment PR was not for me. And it's so important that as you look at what you do want, you take opportunities to know what you also don't want. So that was a really, really important learning for me in my career, whereas I really thought I was on this path and that's what I wanted. But it turns out that I couldn't really have the life that I actually wanted by working those types of hours in that type of an environment. So it was a really, really tough decision to step away from that opportunity, because I thought that this was what, who wouldn't want to have a career at Pixar? But I knew that if the life that I wanted to have, it wasn't going to happen in that environment. So I went back into agency life and was able to kind of resume my position within products and major companies in not only California, but all around the world. And then I had actually gotten an opportunity at this startup agency right here in Miami. And I kind of thought, I've always worked for big companies and very well-established groups. I really want to be part of building something that doesn't even exist yet. So I was the third person in the door at this agency 7 years ago. We have more than quadrupled in size. We've moved offices twice. And it's all because of someone taking a chance and really having a lot of hard work and a lot of common sense and a lot of networking. So my biggest piece of advice to you as you are on your own career journeys is have an open mind. Say yes often and take as much opportunity as you can. And also, too, there's a very interesting tactic that not a lot of people employ. And as you're going into high school and going to be getting jobs and internships, take advantage of the senior leadership in these organizations and ask them for 30 minutes just to have a cup of coffee. Most people are always going to be willing to do that, and it's a great way for you to ask them questions from people that have had a lot of experience. And this is something that the Kennedy Center did when I was in college, and they had all the interns go to the most senior leaders of the Kennedy Center, which was amazing because we got really exclusive access to ask all the questions that we would want to ask. And it was tremendously beneficial. And I would highly recommend that you guys take advantage of that and find the people, because they are willing to talk. And chances are they'll even buy your coffee too. So I wish you the best of luck and on your journeys, and know that there is no wrong or right way to do it, and you'll land where you're supposed to. Good luck.